So we have a few new friends who've come today, and we work on these square pieces of paper. You could start with us if you like, and choose one of these, and also a name tag. And you put your name on it. So last class, when we were together, we talked about primarily about interconnection, right? Everything's produced, everything's connected, right? And you worked on your mandala sheets, and we generated here some of the benefits of being more aware of production and connection. That nothing exists on its by itself alone. Absolutely everything is a part of the whole. Do we agree? Yeah, I think so. And I know you've reflected more on that in the last over this last couple of weeks. And I wonder, did you come up with any other thoughts on how that might be helpful? I came up with one nobody had shared, which I actually really like and I think is very helpful in life and sort of feeds into our next focus topic, which is going to be how not only everything is connected, but everything is constantly changing. And with every thought, with every action, with our breathing, our counting, there's no space between our breaths. One breath leads to another, and so on. One mind moment leads from one to the other, to the other. There's no space, it doesn't stop. So one of the things about really sort of understanding, for me, the interconnected nature of everything and the fact that everything's constantly changing is flexibility and appreciation. Do we have appreciation? Appreciating what we've got, you know? Appreciation. Appreciating the moment. Appreciation. Hmm? Nope, we're still, is it third? It is the third, right? Yeah, first one's role model, that's at the top. Second one is qualities, that's right, our values and qualities that we want to bring more into our home and into our lives. And then the third one is interconnection. And so with interconnection, yeah, put this on. Oh, there it is. Okay, that's great. Okay, so interconnection. So appreciation, appreciating what we have, all those elements in our life and in the world that support us and our own life as well, right? Support our life. What else? Gratitude. Absolutely everything we have, from the clothes we're wearing, the food we eat, the building we're in now, how we got here. How many people, how many beings have been involved in that? Already countless. And we keep going back when this building was first built. And then other builders had to come in and renovate and so on, etc., just in this building alone. And what about our own lives? Our birth? How we got here? How we've survived to this point? But we don't, do we think like that? Are we aware? Do we have that sense of gratitude and appreciation? So let's put gratitude up there. That's a big one, gratitude. It has many, many benefits too. course, I write it up, even nobody can read it anyway. But anyways, we'll jot it down. My writing's terrible. Since I use computer all the time, that's what happens to our writing. Anything else that came up for you in reflecting on this? No? Bonding, connection. So it goes back to our first step of intention, that underlying everything we do, there is a thought, there's an intention. A lot of the time, we're not conscious of it. We're not aware of what the intention is or what our underlying thought is, what our wish is. And remember our deep wish, our deep intention that underlies everything we do. And in essence, what is that? Always. What is it? In every moment, what is it that we really want? Action. Action, what kind of action and what action and why? Could be many, many things, right? Underlying those actions and all those actions and wishes in every moment, even when we're asleep, what is it we really want? Easy happiness. Yeah. Remember? And is there any being you think who doesn't want that in every moment? They might be out fighting a war and they might be full of anger, but what is it that they really want? What motivates them underneath that anger or that, that energy? What is it underneath? We go all the way back. This isn't right. This isn't the way it should be. And we get caught up in it. But how should it be? In essence, what is it that every being, every moment wants? We all, deep inside, underlying every action, every thought, is a wish, a deep-seated wish for happiness, for peace. Right? Everybody's the same. What about the ants? What about the birds? What about the elephants? What about people, who live on all the different continents? Just think, every being, whether we're conscious or not, right? Because a lot of the time we're not conscious of it. Right? But it's actually underneath one all the time. What's in there? This wish. What do you think? What do you think? Think so? So this is a powerful one, a very important one, in my opinion, to this awareness. And through this growing awareness, we start to feel more connected with others, right? Perhaps we feel more connected even with those who, of course, we've never met, and those who live in other continents. We feel some connection. And if we go back through our own lives and all the connections and all those ancestors that got us here now, there's a link that got us here now. We didn't just, bam, appear. But do we see it that way? Do we realize that? And if we did, perhaps a lot of this more, gratitude, appreciation would arise. More sense of connection, closeness, not feeling alone in the world. Because it's impossible, actually, to be really alone. And that sense of isolation can be very tough on people, you know, this sense of I am alone in this world, when in actuality we're not. It's impossible. But we're just not aware of it. We're not living with that awareness. So the more we become aware of that, the more we will feel, okay, we're part of this human, race, this human community. And not only the human community, but the community connected with all the beings that are on this planet right now and have been in the past. Right? Because even when we die, I mean, our body breaks down to the earth. In different religions view and philosophies view what happens to the mind or the spirit or the soul and what happens. But that, according to a lot of different religions, it doesn't die, right? According to the Buddhist philosophy, it is formless. It can't. I remember this, my teacher, Lama Yeshe, talking about how even if you dropped a bomb on top of us, you know, the mind doesn't die. It just leaves. Like Dalai Lama says, it's just another moment. It's just another moment of consciousness. Just leaves and goes on from here. Christians might say it goes to heaven. Your soul or your spirit goes to heaven or elsewhere. So it doesn't die. But the body, all matter goes back to the earth. So all matter that's ever been goes back to the earth. Did I tell you this one other class? But our kindergarten children found a fossil from a ground sloth fossil. It's about, 300,000 years old. So we just found it. And it's, through all these storms that had just somehow unearthed this fossil. Apparently he's like the best one found, one of the best fossils found in the country. So it was a big find. But those things are all under the ground. I mean, they're just all around us, everything that's been before. On this property, you can find actually walking up, even up in the meadow and up higher, shell fossils. So at one point, the ocean was up here. This was under the ocean. Amazing. So not only is everything constant, everything connected, but it's always constantly changing. And so what comes from understanding this is incredible possibility. If we could see it like that. Right? So the next little section in your mandala, I see you bringing out your pens. That next little section is going to be change, impermanence. And that's what we're going to mainly be exploring today. We're going to be exploring that, the nature of all things to change, but also got lots of choices. So just off the bat here about change, can you think of anything that doesn't change? Anything that never changes? Anybody think of anything that never changes? Yeah. Yeah, that's right. So everything's constantly changing. And there's different kinds of changes that happen, right? There's changes that I kind of came up with these different kinds of things that make change. What happens to us? So it seems like things just happen to us. We don't know where it comes from, but it just happens to us. What we make, what we happen upon without even consciously being aware what we're doing. We happen upon things and people, what we happen upon. So these are happenings. What we make happen, very consciously make happen. What we try to make happen doesn't necessarily work out. What we try to make happen and what we miss happens. What we miss happens. So we're going to explore these a little bit today and this morning, how things change. And what might be helpful about really understanding and being more aware of change. Everything's in the nature of change. Do we see ourselves that way? And how might it be helpful? But change happens whether you like it or not. Sometimes we really don't want change to happen or something to change in a certain way. We really try to stop it from changing that way. Sometimes it seems like a force, just it's going that way. We try to change it and we feel, and we can't, no matter how hard we try. Sometimes it's hard to change what we happen upon and what seems to happen to us. But there's one thing we can change to help us to manage the changes that we don't want, that just happen to us, ones we don't want. We try to make happen and they don't happen, right? What do you think that is?
Self.
Yeah, yeah. That's it. And sometimes we really try to change. We might have a partner we live with or whatever, and our children or friends or the world. We try to change it the way we think it would be best. And sometimes we just can't, right? I always would say, we have to learn the hard way through our own experience, and getting there. We can try to impact in a positive way, but sometimes we can't. The only thing we can do, for sure, if we focus on it and believe in it, we can change ourselves. We can change our own mind, our own attitude. We can change our habits. So we are habitual beings. We have habits that we have built in since the time we were born. We have certain ways and things we like to do. We're born with certain propensities. But remember we talked in the first class about how all these different influences, the way we're raised, we grow and we learn about who we are from other people as well, right? We are relational. We are interconnected. And so we have these feedback loops that are part of our lives, that are part of our every moment, because action, reaction, what we do, what we say, and our interconnection with others, right? There's an exchange. And that also affects our mind, our way of viewing ourselves and the world. Different ideas. Some might be helpful, others not. But on reflection, going back again to what we looked at in our previous class, was intention. That underneath everything, underneath all those thoughts, underneath every actions, there is a thought. There's always a thought that comes from a deep-seated root, the wish to be happy, the wish to feel good, right? The wish to have peace. But normally we're looking outside ourselves for that, right? Is it true? I'm just talking, but you can think and let me know if you think it's different from that. And we'll discuss it too, because thinking about things and discussing and reflecting. So a lot of the meditation, a lot of the reflection that we do, one is sort of centering, calming the mind, right? Learning to focus and be more mindful. And then there's analytical meditation, where we actually reflect on specific things and reflect whether we think, we follow the logic and the thinking. because our mind is always thinking anyway. So let's focus it, and let's focus our thoughts. And let's check up, as my teacher used to say, Mama Yeshi, all the time. Check up, dear. Check up. Don't just take it as, well, this is the way I see it, and that's the way it is. You know, or somebody said that, and so, okay. The Buddha himself said, don't believe what I say. Don't just read my words or listen and accept. Check up, like a jeweler would check the quality of the gold and the purity of the gold. Don't just believe, oh, this shiny gold color, it's gold. Check up. So we use our mind, we use our logical, our critical thinking. Check up. So we're going to do just a little uh, meditation. No, wait a minute. We're going to check up. We're going to do something called a Zen inquiry. But before we do that, we're going to get a little centered, and then we're going to do what we call what we created in the school with working with children, ginkgo walking, and it's just walking. It's mindful walking, and we're just going to go for a little mindful walk, and we're going to just notice and reflect on what we notice. Yeah, is it changing? You're going to try to see, do you see anything that is not changing? I mean, I know we talked about it. Yes, everything changes. Let's take just a moment, be like maybe 2 minutes out there, outside. You get to walk around a little bit outside. We're going to do that a couple of times. And I want you, when you're coming back, it's just when I ring the gong, so don't go too far. Don't walk up to the meadow or don't walk off. We want you to come back again and bring back a leaf with you, okay? Just a leaf. Okay, and we're going to do a little Zen inquiry into the leaf. Okay, something a little different. So, sitting comfortably. We just get a little centered. Let's just count our breaths again. Inhalation, exhalation will be 1 count, going up to 10 and back down to 1. If your mind wanders, gently bring it back to the counting. So just as one breath follows another, so too does one thought follow another. And so too, all things in every moment are in a state of change. I want you to see right now, can you stand up without your mind telling you to stand up? The change in our body and what we do depends upon thought. And thought underlying, there's an intention. So now you can tell yourself to stand up. I want you to notice that standing, that movement comes from thought. But I want you to notice all the change that happens following that thought. As you stand, and then we're going to walk out in silence. And just take a short little walk outside. We're going to observe change. We're going to check, reflect. Is everything changing? When I ring the gong, you can just start this change. that one. That's awesome. It is, but it's on my training program. So it's just one section. I think it'll be yeah. I think it's just going to be. We can start to, anyway, rearrange ourselves. So we're going to do this as a Zen inquiry, and we're going to divide into dyads, so a partner. And we will take, say 1 minute to do this inquiry each, okay? So you'll be sitting with your partner, and it will go like this. The fact that the leaf is changing from moment to moment means change is happening, change is active. The fact that the leaf is changing from moment to moment means that there's no right answers, no wrong answers. No right answers. Yes, there's right answers. There's no wrong answers. So we're going to divide. So don't worry about what you're saying, just what comes to mind and reflecting on that, okay? And then we just go back, then we'll switch, right? And the person asking the question will then be the one answering, okay? So it's just a way of reflecting, just taking more time to reflect a little deeper on it and see what it leads to. And that's a form of analytical meditation. So turn to the person next to you, and we're going to, do we have even numbers? No. So somebody can be my partner, I think, right? Or do we have 1, 2, 3, 4? One. You could be my partner. Huh. We started off like that, didn't we? So we can keep going. Oh, all right. So we'll start. We'll set you on the timer. Okay, we can go. I'll just set the timer. Okay. The fact that the leaf is changing from moment to moment means fact that the leaf is changing from moment to moment means the fact that the leaf is changing from moment to moment means the fact that the leaf is changing from moment to moment means the fact that the leaf is changing from moment to moment means okay, we are going to switch now. So we've switched. It is dying. That all things appear and then disappear. But now a little bit more work to do, so don't move. Okay. Next one is the fact that you are changing. The fact that you are changing from moment to moment means, and so the responder will say, I. We'll come back with I, okay? And we're going to do that inquiry now, right? So we can move back, switch back to whoever was the first responder. And then we'll do 1 minute again, okay? The fact that you are changing from moment to moment means the fact that you are changing from moment to moment means the fact that you are changing from moment to moment means. The fact that you are changing from moment to moment means. The fact that you are changing from moment to moment means. The fact that you are changing from moment to moment means. Hmm. Okay, we're going to reset, switch places. Okay. Wow. So, how did that go? So, what did you discover in all of that? And how might it be helpful for us to have that, you know, greater, more constant awareness of the constant state of change? Is it helpful? It's helpful. Comforting. This is a bit scratchy. Hold. Comforting. It's helpful. Yeah. How else? Encouraging. Freeing. Transformative. Awareness. Oh, harmonious. Surrender. Sometimes sad. Normal. And sometimes sad. When we are sad, will it stay? Will we stay sad? No, because everything changes. Sadness doesn't stay. We're not always sad, right? Sad comes and goes. Happiness comes and goes. Anger comes and goes. Cyclical. Everything is cyclical. Control. That we try to control. To make choices and move toward our intention, be aware of our intention, move to make that change. Is that what you mean? Anything else come up? Powerful. Powerful. Possibility. Possibility. A little bit like cyclical, maybe, or, but what should we, how would we call it? Rebirth? We can do that. Change, rebirth, renewal, renewal. Let's put renewal, rebirth. Those re's are good. Constant. Death, death and rebirth. Things don't stop. They're more cyclical. They change form, they change, they shift, they're moving all the time. But don't stop. Hmm? Continuation. Another one that we hear a lot about these days is resilience, right? The bounce back. The bounce back. Resilience. Yeah, I didn't manage to do that this time, but I'm working on it. Resilience. Bounce back. Oh yeah, that happened, but possibility. And I can decide which way I'm going to go. I can decide, how I'm going to respond to that. We can't stop change, but we can maybe control what we choose to change, how we want to change. Right? That's powerful. That's powerful. Resilience, that's what I was going to write. Perseverance. Perseverance. We don't always, things don't necessarily just happen quickly for us in the way we want it. It's easy to say, oh, forget that. I'm moving on. And maybe that's okay too. It's okay to move on, right? If you feel that, really think about it and say, yeah, I guess that wasn't really what I wanted. I could go this direction. Actually, the sky's the limit. We can make a choice. We can make choices. And what we know, if we can't control the outer circumstances, what can we work on controlling? Yeah. Our own mind, how we want to respond to that. Use our wisdom. Right? We've always got a choice, but we can't always change what's happening outside, only what's happening inside. It's very empowering. Would you say empowering? I think so. Let's take a moment to write down in your next little section how it's helpful. Um, there's a researcher, her name's Carol Dweck. Have you heard of Carol Dweck? Yeah, mindsets. And basically, there's two kinds of basic mindsets. There's the mindset of growth mindset. And this is one we didn't put down growth here. Growth, and then fixed. I can't do that. I can try to do that and work on it. Growth mindset, fixed mindset. And what we know is actually the brain is constantly changing. We know everything is constantly changing. There's always possibility, right? Are we going to choose fixed or growth? So let's write down the things and also thinking what you would like to grow more of in relationship. What's going to be helpful for you to grow? And this will be in the next section, right? Next to interconnection, right? So here's a couple of nice quotes on change. All is flux, nothing stays still. There is nothing permanent except change. I'm sure you've all heard that at some point, Heraclitus. That's how I pronounce his name. I'm not sure how you pronounce it. But through time, through history, through across all different cultures and continents, there's wisdom, there's this perception, the constancy of change. If there's any kindness I can show or any good thing I can do to any fellow being, let me do it now and not deter or neglect it, as I shall not pass this way again. William Penn. Possibility in the moment, always there to make positive change, to bring benefit.
There's also one that helps me personally when I go and when I struggle. It's just that sentence that say, and this also shall pass.
Yeah.
Because never anything stays.
Yeah. Beautiful. That's right. This also shall pass. No stopping it. Can't remember saying to the children, let's see if we can capture a moment. Right? I think I said they brought this up in our last class. Ready? I click my fingers. Ready? Ready. It's gone. It's gone. Okay, let's try again. Ready? Okay. It's the nature of all things. And this is a great one. And this leads into what we're moving into now is the mind, which has been in the mind all along. You can't go without it. The barn has burnt down. Now I can see the moon. Depends the way we look at it. Yeah. Some changes we don't want. Can't change. Can't bring the barn back instantly. It burnt down. We can change the way we view it. That happening. So it is time to pee, if you wish. So we take a tea and pee break. Does everyone know where to find the tea? I think you do, yes? Except maybe, what's your name? David. David and Damien. Oh, D's. DD. David and Damien. Okay, so you could follow some of our other friends here. Oh, yes. Oh, but Sam, this is Samuel. It's an S. It's an S. So you can get a tea if you wish, or I say TP break, just 5 minutes. So you can bring your tea back. Okay. Yeah, bring it back with you. Just have to be careful we don't knock it over. But yeah. it's sent. Not virus scanned. Oh, so let me think about it. And we try to resist change, it creates a lot of happiness or not happiness, suffering or happiness. What do you think? We resist it. It's like we try to even just not resist it in not accepting that it's happening, or not accepting that we can change. And that resistance creates suffering. It's like we're trying to go against. It's like a very powerful tide or, current in the ocean is pulling us. And we try to resist it. We have to swim across it. But in this case, we can now swimming across it and can actually help us find some balance in the change. And we go gradually, right? We use it, but we don't totally resist it. But when we try to resist it, it's like what creates sadness is when we can't go with the flow. We're not going with the flow. And it creates a lot of stress. And when our mind is stressed, of course, it stresses our body. So altogether, it's not a good way to go. And yet we are somehow habituated, right, to try to resist those things, to keep things solid, keep them the same. But nothing stays the same. Actually, not even the big concrete buildings don't always stay the same, and they constantly change on a molecular level. Everything's aging, changing. So we're going to watch a video. What is it? It has the label now. the most powerful motivational or best motivation video. We should turn the lights off, I guess. This is very powerful. It's very, very short. But I use it in my training programs, and for years I think it's very powerful. And then we're going to have a little, discussion. We can break into dyads again to discuss this from our perspective and what comes up for us. Oh, yes, that's right. I remember that last time now. It's not very helpful to have that up there. Okay. And even this is a bit bright, isn't it? But is it in the way? You okay? Oh. Oh, that's right. The skylights are very bright. Okay. Anyway, it's very brief. You'll get the message. It's really interesting. Failure. I think they say that entrepreneurs have at least, I think it's 7 failures to 1 success. At least, I think. But what is failure? An event that passes, that passes. It's research. I call it research. When I do something, it's research. You know, what works, what doesn't? What do we have to do to try to kind of work it out so it does work? Why are we sometimes so hard on ourselves? It's not okay to try something and not achieve our goal. What is it that gets in the way? Our mind. What aspect? How are we using our mind? How are we using our mind? And what influences the way our mind perceives something or makes sense of something, stories it. We story things. Why do we tell stories that actually are not helpful? How did they all bounce back? We talked about resilience. Oh, that's me up there. Ooh. How do we bounce back from having tried something and not following our growth mindset, not employing the growth mindset, but rather fixed mindset? I failed. I'm a failure. What about that label? I'm a failure. Helpful in our life? Incredibly destructive. And it's actually, the crazy thing is that it's not the way things exist, right? I mean, is there anybody in here who has always achieved what they set out to achieve on all those different levels? And some might call it, Buddhist terminology, karma. So sometimes, remember those happenings? Things seem to happen to us, things we try to make happen and they don't work out. What we miss happens, missed opportunities perhaps. And that's what we didn't put up on our chart was opportunity. But so failure. Where does our concept and idea of failure come from? Our parents, society, school. Might be just one teacher who said something to you at one point like, oh, you're terrible at math. You can't do math. Labels, labels, labels. And that's just one person's perspective, right? They judge. We judge, we human beings, we judge. We've got these little, filters, or they say, okay, so that we know the brain, the mind is constantly changing, right? We know that now. I mean, neuroscientists agree with the ancient wisdom, across the ages, the ancient wisdom and contemplative traditions that have known that the mind is constantly changing, that everything's constantly changing. And now the latest neuroscience says, hey, guess what? It is. And they're talking about neuroplasticity, that the brain is constantly changing. So it's a whole new wave of understanding that's much closer, as we've talked about, right? Mentioned, to these ancient wisdom traditions and philosophies. Going back to ancient Greek, Heraclitus. Everything's changing, right? So there's always possibility, but it depends on how we look at it, how we use it, how we see ourselves, how we label ourselves. And we are habitual beings. We've got these neural pathways, right, that are very well worn because we tell ourselves those stories. That teacher who told us we were no good at math. So we repeated that. We hold on to that. And we have what we call research shows a negative bias. John Gottman labeled it negative bias. And it comes from that part of the brain, the amygdala, the fight, flight, or freeze, preservation, you know, preservation. So we're protecting, we're always trying to protect ourselves. Right? Yeah. Mm. Nature versus nurture. Yeah. So it's true. I think we're born with a certain propensity, but depending, how we are, how that's nurtured, and how we are nurtured, right, can result in different manifestations and changes. Remember, we know Richie Davidson's research that we can change our brain almost to the genetic level, epigenetics. So we know that actually that change can happen too. But that strong perseverance is a great thing. What is tricky with that is, are you too hard on yourself? And yeah. So remember, as Lamayesh, that Lamayeshi quote, yeah, be gentle with yourself. If you can be gentle with yourself, you can be gentle with others. And so what we do, is we can be hard on ourselves. That's that sense of failure, you know, and being too hard on ourselves. I've got to achieve and I got to get it right and I got to be the best, you know. And if you're not, because at some time you're not, you think about the Olympics that's happening right now, and I love to see how they all just rejoice in each other's wins, even though I'm sure it's hard on some level. But to be gentle with yourself because we all make mistakes. Life is risk. If you haven't failed, you haven't lived. I mean, it's how we learn. We have something called the 5 R's that I created for based on it's actually based on a, a Buddhist methodology it's called the 4 opponent powers, how we can sort of apply those to change karma, in a sense, to change our karma moving forward, being able to accept. And I put the 5 R's, which is learning from our mistakes. And so for the children to learn that, okay, you may have made a mistake, remembering that, doing something that's harmful or dishonest doesn't bring happiness to themselves nor others. And what we really want is happiness, um, regretting that you did that. Remedy, applying a remedy, there's always something you can do, right? Might be just apologizing. I mean, you did something. Uh, Resolution, which is like what you're going to do next time. I'm going to really try next time to remember not to do that again, right? Because it doesn't bring the result you really want. And then the last one's rejoicing. Yay, yes, I learned from that. So we learn. I mean, I see it's kind of like life is like a training ground, you know, and we have all this limitless possibility, right? For happiness, to find in essence what it is we really want: peace, happiness. What were some of our other things we want? But it's all in there, right? We all want that, right? But what gets in the way is a lot about habit, what we've adopted the stories we've told ourselves, the stories other people have told us about who we are. Remember, we go back to those who were here for the first class, the influence of all those different spheres that we are a part of, right? And the sphere that is closest to us, how we are viewed. And research shows actually, there was this research done on the Pygmalion effect. And just viewing somebody in a certain way, actually, they pick up on it. They can feel it. And they start to view themselves that way. And it might be just a few words we say to, along with our view we're holding of them. But we are always judging. We're always looking. Now, you might say, well, that kind of discrimination is good. You know, you can see if somebody's you can't trust. So you shouldn't hang around with them, you know. I mean, for kids, that's how they'll start to, they think it's a good thing to be able to have that discrimination. But is it, are they really seeing that person and how to connect with that person deep inside, who they really are? Remember, we're all the same deep inside, right? Deep connection, that namaste quality, that namaste attitude, right? But it doesn't mean we just hang out with everybody and go along in the direction that they're going. No, no, right? But look at them more, perhaps with more empathy, just like you should look at yourself. We need to look at ourselves rather than, beating ourselves up, right? And it's interesting because we know we can change those habits. We are habitual beings. Remember that. And we are narrative beings. Means we tell ourselves story. We have a story about ourselves. Somebody says, tell me about yourself. Tell me about your life. We've got stories. We'll tell them, oh, so, is it Isis or Isis? How do you pronounce Isis? Isis. So I am Isis and I am da 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 da. I am. Who am I? I'd say that everybody in this room has a different perception of who Pam is. I'd say. You think so? What do you think? Do you think you all see Pam the same way? No, we don't. Why? Pam's been up here. She's just been blah, 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 blah. Pam's here talking, same talk. We're all in that talk. Why do we all see Pam differently? Attached, attracted to different things about me. Where does that come from? Why? Upbringing? Perspective? Or living in our own realities? What we're looking for? Hmm? Mirroring? Yes, mirroring. Actually, mirroring comes into it, the mirror neurons. So mirror neurons are also interesting, how we absorb, in essence, without us realizing, we absorb things from each other, from our environment, from behaviors we're perceiving, people we're with. So all those things are contributing to our stories. Our stories. And some things have been with us for our whole life, right? Since we began. The stories we heard or what we absorbed from people's view of us, what was nurtured in us when we were young. But we can change those habits. We can change those views. We can, to more helpful views, to a more growth mindset view, right? And as far as judging others, so we know that we come, how we perceive, that we come in contact through our senses, we come in contact with an object, right? Come in contact with an object. And it takes about 140th of a second to label it. We label 140 to 200th of a second to label it. Bam. So what it's instant. We feel like it's instantaneous, right? So good, bad, or indifferent, somewhere in the middle, we label. And then it draws on memory. Our memory kicks in, right? That's already contributed to our label. Our memory kicks in, and emotions are triggered. Triggers emotions. So in this case, you might, we are all in the same room together. Pam is talking. We all have a different view of Pam. Why and where did that come from? And how quickly, in every moment, we're assessing, we're labeling. And that's what we do. But we also have this interesting thing, which is this negative bias. And they say it's like John Gottman's research started with marriages, with relationships. And it's like takes it's the 5-to-1 ratio. Five positive interactions with somebody to counteract one negative. 5 positives to counteract one negative. So it's like the negatives like Velcro. We hang on to the negative. Strange, right? It's like a protective thing. It's like we want a shield. Have this shield to protect ourselves from suffering, right? From some kind of suffering. What kinds of suffering? Failing, not being good enough, being judged. What else? Being abandoned. What else? Being criticized. What else? It's interesting. You can check up and start to notice that if you hear some kind of negative feedback, watch what your mind does. Watch what your brain does, your mind. Immediately. Well, they said this, but they are blah, 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 blah. Protecting ourselves, deflecting. Right? So what are we afraid of? What is it? Fear. So the amygdala, fight, flight, or freeze, that reptilian part of the brain, would be what would protect them from, the saber-toothed tiger, right? We don't have the saber-toothed tigers here. We have human beings we're interacting with in life. But the amygdala jumps into action to protect. What is it protecting us from? What is it? Ego. What is ego? It's fragile. Where does it come from? What is it? How does it exist? Is it something that if you go inside, you can open your and find, oh, there's the ego right in there. Just change it a little bit. What is it? Exactly. Exactly. And we're always trying to protect ourselves, to feel good about ourselves. I'm good enough. What is that in Saturday Night Live? Something like that. So positive affirmations. Yeah. And those are helpful, Just watch yourself. Watch what your mind is telling you. Watch. And don't let it trick you. It's long been tricking you. It's long been tricking us all. And when you try to find that ego, it really can't be found. It's a story. It's made up. It's feeling I'm good enough. It's a good point. And I think that's where, if we can get deeper into connecting, with that with our pure nature of mind. That's all we need. That's where the wisdom is, and the wisdom of knowing. We have that enlightened energy already. It's openness. It's deep. It's open. It's embracing. It's compassion. It's peace. It's all those things that we want, but we try to create this sense of, preserving ourselves. But it's almost like going against the change, right? It causes a lot of stress. Those stories, and we're building this concept of I, that's based on what other people say about us, right? What we tell ourselves. What do you think? Mm. Right. Rather than caring about other people. And it's really, and not with that expectation of what we want in return. It would counteract a lack of self-esteem. Because if we see ourselves with this limitless possibility, hey, look at these, limitless possibility, right? That having this innate goodness inside, right? And the thing is that even if we go back to what it is and exploring what we really want and trying to find it from external things, it will never bring us what we want. Temporary fixes, little temporary, little dopamine effects with all those little getting what, those external, feel good things. But they come and they go. It doesn't last because nothing does. But we keep looking for it outside. And then we focus on wanting it all. It's never going to be enough. There'll always be something more to grasp after. It will always be impermanent and disappear, right? But the focus on ourselves and wanting that too, if we turn it and focus rather on what others, it's such a relief. Instead of thinking, well, I want this, or they're going to judge me, or they don't like me. Just think outside, like, oh, what can I do for you? Oh, looks like they need something. I'm gonna make that happen. See if I can make that happen for them. It's like such a relief. It's very freeing, liberating. But when we just focus on ourselves, it gets tighter and tighter. And then you have these things: fear of loss, fear of losing what you have, fear of not having enough, right? All this fear. So we're protecting, defending, fear of not being liked. There's a nice little like kids' songs, if you want to have a friend, be a friend. Go outside. Offer to others that which feels good rather than I need this. See what I mean? So as we start to turn our attention rather on protecting that ego, that sense of self that doesn't even exist, we can't be found, right? Is pure nature in essence. In essence, we are all that pure nature, that pure, innate, pure nature we have inside us. But we haven't been trained to look to depend on it and to go to it. We've been trained to go outside, to achieve, to and it doesn't mean we don't keep achieving outside. That's important too, because through those skills and those strengths, we can bring more benefit in different ways, right? So we can. Even the internet can be very beneficial and helpful, right? But let's see, who's seen that show in TV, Ted Lasso? So Ted has this little quote: "Be curious, not judgmental. Check up," like my teacher used to say. What we tend to do is we criticize because we're protecting our ego, that superficial ego that doesn't really exist. We've got to just know we have this limitless potential inside us. That is really how we exist, right? We do. Come on, we do. But some things are harder for us than others, right? We all have these different propensities and we've all trained in different ways and been told different things about us. So it's not necessarily all easy work, but we know it's constantly changing. We know it's just stories we tell ourselves. Doesn't mean that we have all those skills. And understanding our potential change, narrative beings, you know, limitless potential. It's the way things exist, actually. It's actually the way things exist. But do we see it that way? Do we see that in every moment, in essence, everybody's the same, wanting happiness? Do we see that, actually intention motivates absolutely everything we do? Even to stand up, we can't do it without a thought, an instruction from the mind. The mind leads our body. I remember these three little boys, they were like 6, I think, 5 or 6. And they were running, they were down in the big plane running. And they were, where are they running to? And I called them, Oh, no, 2 boys. I said 3, right? 2 boys. And I called them by name and stop, where are you going? Stop. One of them stopped and the other one kept going. I called him back, the one who kept going and talked. I said, oh, I said stop, right? I said stop. Now, you stopped and you didn't. Why? Why? And he has to say, because I chose not to stop. It's that choice, right? You say the same thing. What do we want to listen to and what do we want to listen to in ourselves and about ourselves? But we can change it. So just watching, and seeing, we have the choice, right? We have the choice to catch ourselves. Hey, Pam, there you go again. You didn't want to do that. Stop that. Go this way. We do have that choice control. We have a choice. So let's choose the positive, right? And how would we like to be seen? And as far as, how would we like to be seen? How would we like to see ourselves? What would be helpful for us to see ourselves, for our life and for others that we're with, rather than protecting and defending all the time? What would be the best? What would we like to be seen? How would we like to be seen? So let's spend a moment jotting down on our mandala. All right, you can make it just 5 things. How would you like to be seen? Create your own self rather than other people having created it for you. Write your own new narrative. Your new narrative that you're going to work on building into your neural pathways. What is your preferred story? Because we are the creator of that story, the author. Yeah, I've seen that. There's a little quote by Jack Cornfield, who's a quite a very well known teacher, mindfulness teacher. We need a repeated discipline, a genuine training in order to let go of our old habits of mind and to find and sustain a new way of seeing. Hmm. We need a repeated discipline, a genuine training in order to let go of our old habits of mind and to find and sustain a new way of seeing. Okay. So remembering that I would say, we all see things differently. We don't all see the same things. We didn't get to go on our second walk, but we'll do that next week. We'll walk again and do our mindful walking outside, our ginkgo walking. Um, and we'll use it in a different way. We will do it, I promise. It will be more on perception, the connection of the outer world with our inner world. And we'll get more into that. We'll start off again, recapping what we did this week. And we'll go into seeing how it all these, what we've studied so far, explored so far, actually unfolds. I say it's sort of like a lotus, the last three petals, which is transformation, empathy, and compassion. And those are like the product, in a sense, that is nurtured through these deep understandings that we've been exploring together. So there's wisdom, actually, wisdom, and really using the power of our mind to reflect on these things deeply, to check up, actually unlocks and frees us from all these misconceptions that keep us imprisoned. So that's what we're doing. And would you like to take your mandalas with you? And if you think you can bring them back, and if you'd rather leave them here, you can do that for next weekend, and we'll complete them next weekend. Do what you wish. By taking them with you, I guess you can reflect back on them. I did send a long email. Oh, thank you, Samuel. Was helpful. Okay. Oh, good, good, good. Did you find it helpful to have a break in between, or do you think it would have been better to have the continuity of each week? What do you feel? Continuing? Yeah. Okay. Okay, good. All right. Attachment gets in the way, doesn't it? Oh, it does. All right. Well, thank you, everybody. That's it. And have a wonderful week. And yes, I mean, you've got my email now. If ever you want to write to me or any questions or anything, please feel free. And otherwise, I look forward to seeing you next week. And if you want to leave your mandala, you can leave it with Isabella. So